All right. Call the meeting of the Templeton Advisory Committee to order Thursday, November 5th, 2020. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Deb had sent out the minutes and the for both our special town meeting where I did our recommendations and our advisory committee meeting for October 22nd. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to review them. We reviewed the recommendations, basically a town meeting also. Except motion to accept as written if no one has any issues.
Yeah, let's make sure Will's got connectivity, Tom, before we do that. Will, are you on?
Will, are you out there? I think Will can hear us, but we probably can't hear him. So why don't we put off the vote on the minutes because
okay.
Will would be our fourth vote.
Yeah, I can't make a motion because we can't vote on it. So
right. So we'll
chairman's decision.
Hello, can you hear me?
Now
yes, we can. Will, can you hear us?
Yeah, right now I can. I keep losing. I don't know. There's something going on. I keep losing. You can't hear me, but I can hear you guys.
Okay.
We can hear you right now, which is good.
Okay.
So let me make a motion to accept the meeting minutes and the fall town meeting recommendations. Do them all at once.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded. Roll call, Tony.
Yes.
Will?
No.
Deb?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Will, did you see a problem with them?
Did you have a issue, Will, with the minutes?
I wasn't here for the whole entire meeting, so I'm going to say no.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And I do have when we talk about the pre-town meeting, I'm going to vote no, and I'll tell you why I'm going to vote no. Because I mentioned that we should have some dialogue on it other than yes or no or whatever. And I felt very strongly about that.
All right. So do we want a separate motion for the pre-town meeting recommendations? I mean, I don't even think we have to because those were already what we recommended and they're in the record.
The meeting minutes.
Well, they're not. Well, okay.
Yeah, we could do a second. We could do it.
All right. So I'll make a motion to accept the pre-town recommendations minutes from 2 weeks ago. The 22nd.
Yeah. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion on it?
As I said, I had made a recommendation that there should be some verbiage other than yes, no, especially and when I talk about the last one, when there was about the quorum issue, the gentleman was absolutely correct. There was 40 people, and I counted at that particular time there was between 12 and 14 officials, and that doesn't represent the town. I don't necessarily agree with his number, but that's why I'm going to take it in voting because we didn't end up clarifying that we were voting against that particular warrant article based upon the amount of people or percentage, excuse me.
Right, but we didn't when in our discussions, and because I actually kind of agreed with you, Will, that the 1% was not unreasonable, but we did not say we're going to make an alternate motion to change the 25% to 1%. We never, that never came up at our meeting that we were going to do that.
We had discussions around that. And we
Yes,
voted basically on the warrant article itself.
yes, on the
And the
25%.
reason, as I said, we should clarify why we vote the way we did. And we should vote, the verbiage should have been, we voted because of the percentage was too high. We thought that was
Okay.
way too much as far as a quorum number, and there should be a quorum. We had that discussion.
No, I agree. No, I agree with that. But like I actually said on town floor, can't make people come to the meeting. It's now with, let's take COVID aside, because that probably kept a lot of people away. If people don't want to show up, that's their right. If they want to show up, that's their right. So for the people that want to show up, the town's business still has to get done because that's the form of government we're in. So if there's 3 people there because no one chooses to show up, then there's 3 people. It's unfortunate, and I'd love to see a lot more people at town meeting. But, I did the math. I had talked to Carol before. In order for 25%, we would have to have 1,425 people at a meeting. I don't think the last 5 or 6 meetings, even with the school issue combined, we've had that many people. So obviously that number's good. It's just hard to put a number on it. So even if you did 1%, that's 104. No, that's 1%'s 57 people.
We still wouldn't have had the meeting.
Yeah, you still wouldn't have had a meeting. So, well, yeah, I'd love to see people get involved in the town and make the decisions. Can't make them do it.
So, Will, can I just ask a question? Were you looking for that information to be reflected in the sheet with the recommendation? So when we stated at town meeting what the recommendation was, we should state that feedback, or were you looking for that to just be recorded in meeting minutes regarding the discussion of the articles when we had the pre-town meeting?
That should be along with our recommendation. We've done that in the past. If you go back and check, you'll see that there was years that we actually spelled out why we voted that way, and we had verbiage. And if you look at any good community, and I say good community, that's what they end up doing. And that's why I recommended it.
Yeah, we did do
That would
that.
have just been you, Will. I'm against the quorum, so I voted yes against not doing the article, not because of the percentage, because I don't think there should be a quorum. I think
a percentage.
anybody could have had the opportunity to speak on town floor and give their opinion on it. I mean, we're just going by what our recommendations were overall on a vote. Tony got up and spoke in favor of the quorum, but not in favor of such a high amount because we'd never have business completed in town. I believe it was in favor, Tony, if I remember, or at least
No, it just it was against the 25% number. And Will, realistically, in our discussions, we as a committee never said we think the number should be 1% or 2%, not 25. We kicked around the number of 1%, but we never voted on it or anything like that. And like I said, I understand 100% your point of wanting more people involved, but like I've said, you just cannot make people come to town meeting.
So, and I want to clarify too, because I do recall, Will, the discussion on the other recommendation, which I believe sort of revolved around the financial fiscal policies of the town when we were talking about that particular article. I recorded the recommendation based off of the way the motion was made. So though that discussion happened after, like where you had stated, you wanted that inclusion of, I'm voting yes because of this, but I want to see further discussion about fiscal policy. The motion had already been made at that point, so I recorded the recommendation based off of the way the motion was initially made. Does that make sense?
Again, I'll state that we should have some verbiage there.
Well, I think
why we voted that way, and we had a discussion based upon this, and we voted that way because, and this is the reason.
But again, I see what you're saying, but then we would have to take a vote on the verbiage because like Tom said, I think he would have said, if you and I agreed, Will, and said, you know, we think 25%, we agreed that it should be 1%. But if there were members of the committee that didn't think it should be, there shouldn't be a quorum, then we don't really have a committee consensus. And any verbiage we should put on a recommendation should have a consensus of the committee.
On that particular one, it was 3-2. That was consensus. I'm going.
No,
I'm not going to
it's
take
not.
it up this. I'll tell you right now. I'm not going to discuss it any further.
Well,
We should agree to disagree on that. And I ended up stating my case about there should be verbiage. That's the end of it, as far as I'm concerned.
all right.
Very good. We have a motion made and seconded on accepting the minutes of the special town meeting, our recommendations. Tony,
Yes.
Will,
No.
Deb,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Minutes approved. All right, next up, we have the budget versus actual discussion. I did get an email from Amy with a few accounts that she had some questions to look at a little bit more, and I did go through. I don't know if anyone else had any other specific ones. I didn't receive any other emails, so I don't know if there's certain ones that people had wanted to flag. If not, I'll kind of go through.
Not at this time.
I'll kind of go through a couple of the ones that Amy had brought up. Were a lot of them were employee support accounts. She had put the developmental service employee support, intergovernmental on highway, and the senior services and library support. Those accounts, looking through, developmental services had 46.8% remaining or spent. Sorry, leaving about $2,500. A lot of these I would anticipate looking up what the employee support accounts were used for in the town. There were clothing allowances, memberships, certifications, conferences and trainings, travel, etc. I think that a lot of that, without knowing for sure, I would say they were quite a bit COVID related. Travel pretty much was cut down. A lot of the conferences and that were cut out and canceled. We can send an email to Adam if we'd like to have a couple of these accounts, ask them that, and just verify. I do look at and anticipate some of them. The intergovernmental ones, I just had a question that I wanted to put forward. Maybe you guys can pitch in on that. I believe those are the accounts that they basically during the year go from one department to another. I'm not sure if such as maintenance, highway would be in charge of maintenance, but it may be a maintenance at the fire station and those type of things. Because looking at a few of them had quite a bit of funding left in some of them as far as percentages. So I'm thinking that might be, I was just going to check with Adam as a clarification, unless somebody has a exact answer on that. Okay. Again, like I
Hey,
said,
Tom, sorry, I was on mute. It'd be nice if you could ask them of some of these really underspent ones, like you said, for whether it's training or whatever. Put an asterisk or something near the ones that are directly COVID related. So it's just a very easy explanation. Didn't do in-person training or in-person conference because of X, Y, and Z, or because of COVID, not X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, no, I'd certainly think that would be a good idea. I know a few of them I had also was personnel and the senior services ended up having 53,000 left. I know they also, I don't know if they had that much of a closing. I know they closed. I didn't know if they had that much salary left. So that was one I was going to ask about. A few others on supplies, but again, really a lot of these offices weren't open and working other than remotely. So some of the supplies really weren't needed, I guess is the best way of putting it. A few of the others that I had also, she had mentioned, are capital line items. That to me kind of is a little bit of my concern looking through this, looking at the projects that are out there, still out there. There's quite a few that seem to have a large percentage remaining. And some of these go all the way back to 2018. There's 17,000 still sitting there for mini splits in town hall. We have, balances in, fire training rooms of $7,000. We have scholarship money back from 2019 and 2,700 that if scholarships aren't going to be awarded, they should be awarded to new people. I mean, basically, and just quickly going through and looking.
Well, for example, if the scholarships are awarded, but the individual student doesn't claim them, then that might account for that.
And that very possibly could be part of those. I know fiscal 2020 had scholarships and 4,000. That doesn't appear that they are awarded. And the kids are still going to college, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's usually after the first semester.
Okay. Well, these are from last year though. The 2020, we haven't got to the 2021 ones.
Depends on when they award them for 2020. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It just, there seems to be, out of the special article total that wasn't spent as of the June 30th, there's $464,000 in projects still sitting out there, which granted, some of them might be ongoing projects. I know like the assessor revaluation, I believe that's a item that's there every year and builds up till they actually do the revaluation. So I can see some of them having to be carried on, but that's a large sum of money for a community that's trying to make sure that what we give out each year is spent. And I know just from sitting on capital planning, there's, items coming forward that if projects aren't going to be done from 2018, there might be fiscal 21 projects that are needed to be completed.
Yep.
So I don't know if we can somehow look into following up with the ones that have remaining monies in their projects prior to this fiscal year to see if it's a carryover project. If it is, that might be just as easy. Or maybe the project was completed and they didn't need as much as they had been approved or requested. So it could be returned, in my opinion. Those were the ones that I was surprised by how much money was sitting there not being used that had been allocated. If it's been approved to buy a lawnmower and the department chose not to buy a lawnmower, the money should go back. If it's a snowplow or an ambulance or whatever, or if everything wasn't spent and they got a better deal on the piece of equipment, that's great. That's good for the town. That's good for the department.
We should also find out is if there's stuff that's outstanding, say is on order, but hasn't come in, so you're not paying for it until it comes in. That does happen quite a bit.
Yep.
But then there's other things like the door for town hall. They spent it at the very last minute. So the electric door for handicap, that was spent at the very last minute. So.
All right. Did anyone have any other account information that they wanted to go over on the budget versus actual or specific accounts? Okay. Next on our agenda is to discuss the town meeting results. Looking through pretty much, I think all the articles that did pass, with the exception of Article 5, were pretty much in the same as our recommendations. I believe.
Yeah, did anyone else get an invitation to join ClearGov, an email?
I have not.
I did. I haven't clicked on it yet because I don't know who it's from and I don't know who invited me to join it. So
Yeah, I have not seen anything. They could have. They could have you in a still as chairman, Tony, possibly
maybe.
in some of the email things. I can check with Adam and just see if they've sent anything out as far as that goes.
Okay.
All right. Does anyone have anything else about the town meeting results? All right, committee updates. Right now, we got, I think, a couple subcommittees. Amy's not here to talk about the regional school project, but I don't believe they've started anything on that yet. Tony, have they started anything with the?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, but I don't think it would be appropriate for me to give an update right now.
Just in the process of reviewing stuff at this
Yep.
point.
Yeah.
Can we have the number that applied?
What? 9.
Okay, that's positive in itself.
As far as capital planning goes, we had our first round yesterday afternoon with departments coming to us with developmental services and the police department. We had some worthy projects that may definitely be needed. However, we'll see how everything shakes out with the funding from requests from other departments. Also had some projects come from the police department that wouldn't be looking for funding from out of capital expenses. They'd be funded out of other grants that he is currently working with. However, due to the length of the amount or the length of the project or the life expectancy, it did come before capital planning. Our next capital planning meeting is on Monday, I believe it's the 9th at 4:30, where we do have 2 more departments coming to go over what their requests are. And then once everything's done, we'll meet and go over develop our recommendations before we officially give them to the select board, knowing it's going to be a tight year financially with everybody. However, at the same time, you can't stop planning and trying to move the town forward. So I think it's going to be a difficult process, but I think that once all the projects are vetted through, I think we'll find some good possibilities to be able to fund the projects. That's basically where we are with the committee updates. Anybody else?
It was obvious that you have some members that don't know town government and they've been in town government for a while. That's my observation. I won't nail anybody out, but statements that I heard were just, I can't see how anybody can make a statement that was made and have been in town politics and let's put this way, in government, and not know what's going on.
I think that, as with all these committees, I think everybody, tries to do their best when they do get on. They may not always be as up to speed, and I know all of us probably make have our own way of thinking on a lot of these things, but I don't think anybody's on looking to purposely not be evaluating things correctly. I think it's good to see as many people as we can step up and at least try to help out with a lot of these committees. All right. Next is the revenue estimates, discuss the revenue estimates that have been sent out. We had received from Adam the receipts and the amount of expenses. Let's see if I have that right in front of me. Revenue wise, looking through what was requested and they had approved in the actuals. So far, if I'm reading them correctly, numbers don't seem too bad totaling wise. Receipts on various, we still obviously have a lot that's to be determined for the some of the agencies are waiting for the final approval. I think I read today that the House has been voting on their final budget. However, it actually is a little bit higher than what the governor had put forward. With that being said, that really doesn't necessarily mean that's what we're going to get. So it's kind of early, depending on what the earnings actually come in as. Tax-wise, as far as our money that's going to come in, I think that we're going to, from what I can see, I think our tax numbers, we've had a lot of new growth in town, and I know the town's been pushing to try to go through the tax title process on a lot of the properties that are out there and are basically abandoned or unpaid for. I think the extra effort made by a lot of those departments that are involved in this hopefully will make up for the downside in the meals tax and those type of things that we have lost due to the COVID pandemic. Although I think a lot of and I don't have the numbers right in front of me, the building projects and that for outdoor projects and that have actually, I think, kind of gone up at this point because you've had a lot of people home building. You've had a lot of people doing projects that are permitted and need permits and inspections. They had the first round of stimulus money that had gone out to people that I think a lot of people took advantage at that point to be able to do projects because they were stuck at home. And whether we have another round that potentially goes out in January, I think it'll be an opportunity that people will continue to do projects, whether it's building, putting up certain things, a small addition or something that will offset in a lot of ways the businesses that are downturned a little bit. I think that hopefully at some point the businesses that are struggling can be brought back up to full capacity and can be brought up to speed and get back to making the income that they need to make to survive and pay their bills. But until then, I think we just need to continue to be as frugal as we can be when it comes to the numbers. But at the same time, as I've said in the past, we still need to keep moving forward because one way or another, we got to continue through the budget process and through the expenses. So
I did see something from Senator Goby today about the $10,000 small business loans being available to Templeton and some of the surrounding communities. I think she's just putting that out to make sure people knew about that. So up to 10,000.
And I think there's hopefully going to be some different wordings on some of these as they come along. I know right now some of the small business loans are 5 employees or below, and that includes the owners if they're working in the. So a lot of these a little bit smaller than some of our businesses, I think, that have been taking a hit. But at the same time, I know some businesses have, begun to get very creative in how they operate and how they get their goods to the community. And I think that's great. I think this is, although obviously the pandemic's not a good thing, it may have a inventive outcome in a lot of areas where things become a little bit more efficient in different areas also. So I think everybody, although the cost wise is really been devastating to a lot of families, I think that we still have to try to move forward, make the best out of what we do have, and just try to be there for the companies and the businesses and the neighbors that may not be doing as well.
And I think when the next maps come out, Templeton's going to be in the red. So
Yeah,
hopefully those people recover soon.
yeah, they certainly, I think pretty much all the area towns and the communities are. I know, the numbers have been climbing up when it
Yep.
comes to that. There's no way around that. Whether people agree or disagree on how the pandemic's been handled by, politicians, by, government, by local officials. I think we all have our opinion. Some of us may have stronger opinions on it, but we also, I think we're all dealing with it day to day in our own way, and needs to continue that way. And hopefully if people know of certain individuals that are struggling with it, they, take an extra look and help them out a little bit if you can, and do the best we can as far as that. I think that's what makes a small town makes a small town a small town. We kind of take care of each other in a lot of ways. So hopefully that continues and doesn't get all the politics involved and messed up with it.
Hopefully.
The weekly report showed that we were in the red, and I think that's going to affect a lot of things.
I agree with that, Will. We definitely, we've had the opportunity to, hopefully the ones at this point, I know I've noticed, and we were just talking about this today, that the ones, for some reason, a lot of the ones that are testing now, we're testing a lot more people. So we are coming up with more positives. However, the severity seems to, at least from what I've seen and what I talked, the local area that I've talked to, they seem to be recovering a little quicker. And whether that's because they're asymptomatic and they really haven't, gotten as ill, I'm unsure as to why. I hope that trend continues. I don't want to see more people sick, but having them recover quicker, and that I think is a very positive thing when it comes to that. Does anybody have anything else as far as on the, kind of got a little off topic there,
Nope.
as far as on the revenue estimates?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, Will, you got anything else on those?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit aggressive, considering.
And they may be, and but at the same time, like I said, I think a lot of I think some things have gone up. I think that people are just at home more, and so they're in town more, so they may be buying more. There's deals out there on vehicles and things that people normally wouldn't go buy a car during a time when they are maybe out of work, possibly. But at the same time, they've made the deals so enticing to people that many people have taken advantage of them. And, hopefully as they go back to work and continue their employment, they're able to continue to finance and pay those bills on those type of deals. All right, anybody have any continued old business that they'd like to bring up? Any new business people would like to see brought up?
I did hear, did one of our town fire trucks get in an accident this weekend? Thought I heard something about that today.
I believe that they had a truck that had either a ladder rack spring up as they were pulling out, did do some damage to a ladder rack. It wasn't an on the road accident. It was as they were leaving the station for an emergency call. I'm unsure if it was up or sprung up. I don't know the exact detail on it.
Mhm.
As far as the,
Do you know if the vehicle's out of commission or?
I am unsure on that. I believe it's still in service as a fire truck. However,
Okay.
the ladder rack would not be useful at this time, usable at this time.
Okay. Well, I'm just, recalling something that I learned from Mr. Spring, that if there's something that's needed on an emergency basis, that's what our emergency fund's for. So
I definitely,
I'm sure Chief Dickey knows that.
yeah, I do believe it was something that was going to be checked with the run through the town's insurance first, I believe. I don't know as far as repair costs, how that will
Okay.
will work on that. I do believe that's something that whether the budgeted would have the budget on the deductible of that, I'm unsure.
Okay.
Look at what the vehicle deductible would be, but
Let me just say this. I'm very disappointed from a committee's standpoint, as well as the fact that at the last selectmen's meeting, they talked about the Q1 financial in the financials. I didn't receive a copy of that. Then the selectmen ended up talking about putting in a parking lot paid by the town's people. Well, there was started a discussion for a private business. We should have had some input to that and not recommended it. The third thing is that when that meeting went on, and also a workshop, that there was an email put out by our last town administrator that I never received, and the only way I got to see it was actually go into the minutes and the documentation for the meeting to take and end up seeing, and it was a discussion on what the financial plan for the community and changing the numbers, which was crazy. I don't know if anybody watched those meetings or anything, but we are responsible for looking at those. We should have had them on the agenda, Tom. Some of them that we were not your responsibility because you didn't receive it, so we can't talk about it. I mean, like the Q1, it was talked about, but there was nothing in the packet as to the presentation. So there's nothing that we could have talked about. Same thing with the other thing, but there's some things that we are missing as far as this committee is concerned that affect the town's finances. We're the watchdogs. If we don't say anything about it, who is? The selectmen sure to hell don't end up doing the right things in a lot of cases.
as far as the email that came out from Carter, I believe I'll look back. I thought I had forwarded that out to everybody.
I believe I saw that.
Yep.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I forwarded that out to the committee.
Mhm.
As far as the quarterly report, I did not, other than what comes in the normal weekly report. I hadn't received anything else on that. But the Carter's recommendations on the possible changes down the road, I did send out to the committee.
But with respect to the parking lot, I know there was a public meeting held on that, I believe, or there's going to be. I don't know if it's been held or not yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it has been. I know it might have actually even been this week.
I didn't receive the thing on the financial plan. I have all my emails that I've ever received.
I will definitely check back because like I said, I know I sent it out and I don't see where I would have missed you, Will, in the grouping of it. Maybe check and see if I'm going to a spam folder or something. That's possible.
I checked that. That was one of the things I checked that they can end up seeing. One of the things that Tony had done is he had had it automatically forwarded to everybody. You might want to consider that.
Let's see.
If Tom didn't undo that rule, Will, then it should still be that way.
I had made some changes with the rules, so I'm not sure how I've got
Okay.
it back to.
Okay. But as chairman, that's your discretion, how you want to get the information to us.
I'll look back, Will, and see if I can find the email. If for some reason you didn't get it, I will resend it back out to you. But as I said, I know I had forwarded it out, so it's just a matter of being off and looking through the.
Yeah, if I hadn't looked at the packet for that meeting, I wouldn't have seen it. And I saw that we were on copy, and I just couldn't figure out why I didn't get it. I wanted to mention it. But the Q1 ended up finding that we should have got that. There's no excuse why we didn't get that. The same thing as maybe oversight on your part about the monies for a parking lot is to get back to the selectmen saying we shouldn't be spending town money for a private enterprise.
Well, I guess without having seen the meeting, I'm not sure what exactly the.
Yeah, I don't know what they proposed.
They did or they did not propose.
I don't know. I know it has something to do with everybody going to an establishment in town and using the road along the library to park. But other than that, I know there was one time before that business opened that they had talked about adding parking, but I didn't see any maps associated with what they were talking about. Maybe we could ask Adam for that.
There was oversight that should have been done that wasn't. When a business comes up, you end up having, when they know what the capacity is, there should be enough parking spaces for them. I don't believe that the committee or board that it went before ended up setting any precedents on that or any alternatives. And it's now causing a problem near the library.
Well, if you recall, that business was established as an eatery. So I think some of the rules may not have applied well.
We didn't have anything as far as that, but I mean, I'm talking about spending town money.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we should spend town money.
We have no control over that, but the committees and boards that do have control didn't do their enough oversight on that to come up with a solution.
Okay. I mean, I think that we should have definitely been able to weigh in on whether we thought it is a prudent spending of town funds.
I'm just looking at it from the money being spent by the townspeople. Your tax dollar, my tax dollar for a private business. We don't do that.
Well, I understand.
I think also that business was, at that time, the road hadn't been redone yet and parking was allowed on Ballinville Road, if I recall.
Right. That is true.
And now I believe with the
sidewalks on both sides.
Yeah, exactly. It's not allowed to go. I did find the email, Will. If you want to look back in your stuff, it looks like I forwarded it. Oh, no, wrong one. Sorry.
Hey, Tom, while you're looking, I just want to walk us back a little bit because Bob May has a couple of comments out there. One regarding the fire trucks. He says ladder 1 is out of service, having annual service work and repairs completed. Engine 2 is out of service due to an accident and is waiting on the insurance company adjuster to come out. And then he does have a comment regarding the parking issue. He says the parking issue has been pushed back 3 months via the Board of Selectmen or Select Board. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
I appreciate that, Bob. I did know the ladder was having some work done, so that's, I know we're covering with the tower out of Winchendon. So as far as that is, that's good that they're going through the insurance process. That's to all of a sudden start doing any repairs on our own would kind of screw up the insurance wise when the adjuster comes out. They're usually pretty quick. So hopefully that will not be too long a process with the repairs and be something that the truck can get taken care of as soon as possible with it. So I don't have anything else as far as new business goes. I will, as far as if it's been pushed back on the parking issue, certainly can make sure and watch, and if it's going to be on any of their upcoming agendas as far as that goes, I can certainly make sure you see that date and it's forwarded to you.
We should be telling them not to take and end up spending town monies for a private business. We're the watchdogs. That's town money.
Well, I guess
I mean,
Well,
depending on where they put the parking lot would depend on if that parking lot's there for the private business or maybe it's a parking lot for the library patrons. Depends on.
I would want to know more about what they're talking about before I say that.
Because it could be either way. If it's causing a problem for the library, and the library is a very important part of this community, always has been, that if we are looking to do a small parking lot for library patrons, maybe that is a good thing. Should we build a parking lot for a private business? No. But should we do a parking area for an important part of the community that may need to be done? Who knows? We'd have to kind of see what the project comes forward and
Right.
see if it's something that is usable by the library and the historical society and, you know, all these important buildings that we have there to go with the fact that there is a business that we try to encourage business in the community. At this point, any a business that's able to be positively running, I think in some ways is a good problem to have.
Yep.
If we've got a business that's successful enough during a pandemic that they're having trouble to figure out where to park, that's an input into our meals tax. That's an input into the happiness of the people in the community. So there's not always the dollar is something we need to watch and where things are spent. However, there are other aspects also to the town, in my opinion.
there's never been an issue of parking for the library. In fact, they have a couple of handicap parkings. I've used them. So, I mean, this hasn't been an issue, except when you have the library open, especially, and you have all the patrons parking where the library people would be. That's,
Okay.
and like I said, there was the correct oversight when that business was there. Something should have been figured out other than end up having a parking along that road to interfere with town buildings, period.
Well, like I said,
And that's not, I'm not saying I'm against the business. I'm saying that we have a problem that things weren't done correctly
I
to
don't
take and
agree with that.
address the issue.
I don't agree with that, Will, because they did, I was at
They
a
were
couple
done.
of the select board meetings and they did discuss additional parking in the future. And so until I see this package, and I don't really want to comment on what they're suggesting too much without knowing, because that would be foolish, but additional parking for that business has been talked about. It's not like it's a new subject.
And also, like I said before, their additional parking is when they first started as far as this business, the business and the restaurant there, you could park on Baldwinville Road. With granite curbs now, you just can't park on the side of the road. It's just not feasible. So lots, the spots that were there, even though when they were parking on both sides, the road was extremely tight. I think that it was something that, without moving forward, you can't fault the business for being busy.
Tom, I have a comment again from Bob May. He states that the parking is also a major issue for tenants and occupants along Boynton Ave, not only the library. Thanks, Bob.
Absolutely. I can see
Don't
that.
get me wrong. There was a restaurant in that building. It didn't end up having seating for 100 people like this particular one is. That's what the issue was. It goes back to the granting of that license with the amount of people that were going to be there. I ate in that place before this place came along. When they did have a restaurant there, I ate there a number of times. So that was the issue. It wasn't addressed correctly. That's my biggest complaint, and it's forcing the town to look at a parking issue that could have been solved, or at least resolutions way back when they were granting the license.
So the solution would have been just to have them have less people?
No, they could. There's all kinds of resolutions to this. One of them is, if I understand, is that they have a business that's further up the street that would allow them that they can end up parking there. They could have valet parking if they want. There was another a building where I guess they talked about parking over there. So I mean, those were solutions that they could have had.
Hey, Tom, I have one more comment coming from Bob. He said, Tony, but they talked about additional parking is not in the present plan. The alcohol license meeting was on February 26th, 2020, when parking was discussed. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
I think that it's a tight area. There's no way around it. 4 tenants in the area, and I don't know which of those apartments have parking in driveways, if it's strictly on Boynton. I assume it must not be strictly on Boynton, because come wintertime, when they go to plow, they wouldn't be there. But I think that it's still something that needs to be looked at going forward. Whether it's something that it's a private business putting it, then obviously it wouldn't be private funds. If it's a town used lot, that's a town used lot, then, you know, it can be looked at where it is and how it's going to work. And like Tony said, until we actually see more on the plan, which it sounds like it's been tabled for 3 months with the Board of Selectmen, it seems that we don't have enough information to really take too much of a stance on it, because if it's something where we don't feel the funds are being spent correctly, then obviously we would be able to give our opinion. But at the end of the day, we still don't take a vote on the thing. If it comes before, if it's a major project, it'd come before capital at that point. So that would be another issue that it would have to go before, which then would come back to let you guys know where it is in the planning scheme.
It may have to go before town meeting to expend the funds.
Very possibly. And it may have nothing to do with any town funds. We don't know at this point, and
Yep.
we'll just have to go with as things come. Does anyone have anything else?
I do not.
Will, you have anything else?
Now, you heard the things that I brought up about the quarter 1 finances, this, and also the fact that there was changes to the financial plan. As far as the financial plan goes, every community that you look at, the advisory committee is one of the people that they look at. This select board and this administration only holds it to themselves. They don't get any input outside. We're the watchdogs as to what we're doing, and I mean, I can't understand why they wouldn't want to end up hearing from it. I mean, there's communities that actually have the advisory or finance committee write the financial plan. So I mean, I'm not looking to end up writing the financial plan, but there should be some sign off or at least input from the advisory committee, since it affects the finances of the community.
don't believe there was any changes made. Well, I think if it's the email that I recall getting sent out, it was something that had been sent out, and Carter was talking. Actually, I think it was in response to an email that had gone back and forth from Mr. May to Carter, and I believe that he said he would be looking to suggest that it wasn't anything that he had made as far as a change in any of the the financial plan, unless I'm maybe one of you, Tony or Deb, if you
I
could.
don't know. I think you're right.
I was watching a portion of the select board meeting the other night, and I can't speak to it with a lot of confidence because there was a lot going on and I caught bits and pieces of it, but it did sound like they were making recommendations to change the financial policy. The advisory committee was mentioned, so I don't know if something's forthcoming. I'd have to go back and watch the meeting. So I apologize because I don't really have very affirmative information. Actually, Bob just made a comment, no votes were taken, that would violate policy at the workshop. So it sounded like they were discussing it, nothing was voted on, but there was some discussion around changing the financial policy. So like, again, I think maybe something would be forthcoming.
Well, that would certainly make sense as far as well, we hadn't seen anything yet other than the email that I forwarded out. So hopefully we'll be seeing something. And certainly seems like it'd be something that they would bring before us. If in the past we've been involved in that discussion, I don't see why they'd suddenly change something.
Bob says a 1 to 2% update to CapEx. So it sounds like maybe that's what they were discussing. So again, I think a 5 to 8% increase in stabilization. Thanks, Bob.
It sounds like actually like they were discussing the email that had gone out to us.
Yeah. Yeah, about the reduced liabilities. I forget. I remember seeing an email that they thought we were going to have X bills and we're not. So the plan is to put a lot of that into CapEx and stabilization.
Right.
Bob says yes. And the last comment there was and a waterfall amendment, but it sounds like he's agreeing with what you're saying, Tony.
Okay. I mean, I just don't like the way they apply the percentage. I think when free cash is available, they pay bills first, or they pay, for whatever, and then they take whatever's left over and apply it to the different stabilization funds. And I think that they should pay the stabilization funds first and then pay for stuff after, but that's not how Carter did it. I don't know if Adam will suggest a different way to do it. But stabilization funds, which is something we never had.
Kind of have to see down the road on how Adam handles that. There's nothing we can really do until we see how he goes about it.
Right.
All right. Does anyone have anything else?
I don't.
Deb?
I do not have anything else. Thank you.
Will?
I brought up what I needed to.
All right. And I don't have anything additional at this time. Deb, anything additional on the chat?
Nope, that was all.
Okay. That, and we're at the end of our agenda. I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will second.
Okay. Tony?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you guys very much.